Mercer, this circle is a group of people like me. Are you saying that somehow we're all in a room together, somewhere watching you, planning world domination? No. First of all, I know it's people like you. And that's what's so scary. Individually, you don't know what you're doing collectively. But secondly, don't presume the benevolence of your leaders. For years, there was this happy time when those controlling the major internet conduits were actually decent enough people, or at least they weren't predatory and vengeful. But I always worried, what if someone was willing to use this power to punish those who challenged them? What are you saying? You think it's just a coincidence that every time some congresswoman or blogger talks about monopoly, then suddenly they become ensnared in some terrible sex porn witchcraft controversy? For 20 years, the internet was capable of ruining anyone in minutes, but not until your three wise men, or at least one of them, was anyone willing to do it. Are you saying this is news to you? You're so paranoid. Your conspiracy theory brain always depressed me, Mercer. You sound so ignorant. And saying that homie is some scary new thing, I mean, for 100 years, there were milkmen who brought you milk. They knew when you needed it. There were butchers who sold you meat, bakers who would drop off bread. But the milkman wasn't scanning my house. I mean, anything with a UPC code can be scanned. Oh, hi. I didn't see you there in the glare of the sun. Welcome to Bitcoin Talk Show. That was just a little bit of The Circle by Dave Eggers. They made it into a movie. It's not a good movie. I wish it was a better movie. It's got some great actors and actresses, and I wish it was better, but the book is way better. Read the book, The Circle, ignore the movie. But let's go ahead and see what's going on today in Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin was up 2.64% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 7,905, a low of 7,215, and a high of 8,572. That's $1 for 12,616 Satoshis. It's funny now, I can remember when it was 20,000 Satoshis, and I can also remember when it was 5,000 Satoshis. Looking at it right now live on Bitstamp, the price is $7,919. Looks like we hit a recent floor of $7,811 and are down from a recent high of $8,280. Previous floor of 79.70 and a previous high of 84.34. On the 5-minute chart, could be ranging downward, but we do have a candle forming right now, which, as always, is green. Whenever we start Bitcoin Talk Show, the price of Bitcoin goes up because more people are talking about Bitcoin. I want to talk about Kashmir Hill and her haunted house full of electronic gadgets, the house that spied on me. I want to talk about the stuff I've been reading, the 2017 backlog, which I posted earlier this morning and is way too long. But really, I just want to talk about Bitcoin because I thought it was dead and doomed. And now when I search on Google News, the mainstream media seems to be saying Bitcoin is bonkers right now. Here's why you shouldn't count it out. Popular science. Bitcoin surges by more than $2,000 in just one day. People are going into debt to buy Bitcoin. And I'm sure you guys all heard that all of the major credit card companies are now pulling back, saying that you can't buy Bitcoin on Coinbase with a credit card anymore. So that thing that we always wanted, that we had for just a short amount of time there, where people could say, oh, just put your card in. And maybe you can still do it with debit cards, which would be very cool. But they had it where you could do it with credit cards. You didn't have to go out and live your life and spend all your money and save it for Bitcoin. You could just go ahead and charge it right there. But they've canceled most of that, probably because they're worried that people could speculate and lose their money and not pay them back, which is a fair concern. But maybe, just maybe, they think that Bitcoin is competition for the banks, and they hate competition. As CoinDesk says, Floor found. Strong volumes push Bitcoin above 8K. But we all know why that's happening because we saw the Senate hearing yesterday. The Senate CFTC hearing was incredibly positive for Bitcoin. They seem to understand that it was a technology. They seem interested in it. They realized why you couldn't separate Bitcoin from the blockchain. And hell, I'm not crazy about it, but they even said they were kind of interested in ICOs. They did see it as a possible way to the future of fundraising. This on the backs of today's news that the city of Berkeley, California is considering an ICO. I don't, I don't know. You can't make this stuff up, but that's what's happening in Bitcoin today. It's looking like Investopedia is reporting that Steve Wozniak sold all his Bitcoin and then he bought it at 700. So I don't know if he sold it at the top or if he freaked out. But Woz is a cool guy, and if he needs money, it's fine for him to sell. But if he's lost faith in Bitcoin and he feels the need to tell people about it, that would make me think a little less of Woz. It's fine to lose faith in something. You can just walk away quietly. You don't have to shit on everyone else. And looking at the rest of these stories, Bitcoin's many problems puzzle regulators. And I think that's a great headline, probably a good article, thinking about how everyone says, oh, yes, they're going to come to Bitcoin and they're going to regulate it and they're going to change it. But the reality is they can't change it. They can't regulate it. The core of it is this software that agrees to the rules. And as long as people keep running software that agrees to the rules, it doesn't matter what you want to do with the outside system. The inner wheel just keeps spinning. And of course, you can check out the World Crypto Network podcast. We've got everything on iTunes. Search for World Crypto Network podcast. We've got audio versions of the shows featuring Tone Vase, Jimmy Song, Adam Meister. I think I did it right that time. It's like MySpace, Meister. And Andy Hoffman, the Vortex, the Bitcoin News Show, Richard Hart, Bitcoin Talk Show. We've got it all on the World Crypto Network podcast. So check that out. But now we're going to go ahead and open up the phone lines here. We are on Skype at World Crypto Network. We are a bit later in the day. Today I was busy. Why does this sound like it's not live? It's 2:45 p.m. on the West Coast, and it's kind of live. Can you hear me? And we're going to go ahead and open up the Skype line and talk to you guys. And if there's nobody out there today looking to call in, then we'll go through some of these stories, maybe talk about Kashmir's house that's spying on her. I'll tell you about some of the fun I had today. Maybe I'll talk about some of the books that I read. But more than likely, everyone has a different time. It's a different time zone. I'm going to put my headphones on, and we're going to see if anybody's out here on Skype. As always, I've got to accept you on Skype, so I'm going to go through and see if I've made some new friends, accepting some people here. Looks like that's about it. So if you'd like to call us right now, otherwise, echo, something new. I think it's supposed to be routing it to my headphones, but let's see what's going on. So Kashmir Hill, famous Bitcoin writer, used to write for Forbes. Now I guess she writes for Gizmodo. She wrote for some other webpage in between, but a good writer. She did the one of the original Week on Bitcoin columns where she tried to live for a week on Bitcoin in San Francisco. It was really cool. And now she's done a column where she went ahead and got all those cool devices. She got a Roomba and Amazon Echo and an Alexa and Google Home and all these things. And she got an electric Bluetooth toothbrush. And she connected them all to the same router. And then she tracked when they would go in and out. So let's see. Here's someone requesting to call in. There we go. Acceptance sent. We'll see if he calls. But she connected all these things to the same router, and then she watched when these devices called home. So she could see, for example, there's a great post way down. It's a really kind of a long article, but it's got some interesting data. But I love this where she said, "On Christmas Day, for reasons I can't explain, my coffee maker called home 200 times or 2,000 times." And they contacted the Be More Coffee Company, and what they said is that a server was down that day, meaning that the coffee machine kept calling and calling a line that wouldn't pick up. But let's see if we can get somebody on Skype here. I think this guy wants to talk to us. Let's see. It's still not going through my headphones, so I'm going to be echoing now.
Hello.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. How's it going?
How are you, Thomas? Can you hear me well? Because I'm driving here with my dog. I'm just leaving work.
All right. What's your name and where are you calling from today?
My name is Iker. I'm calling from Florida.
All right. And what's on your mind about Bitcoin today? What's going on?
Well, I'm just leaving work. I'm actually a physician. I'm internal medicine. And, I've been in crypto for about a year now. I have a Bitcoin sign in my office.
Nice. Big supporter. Big supporter.
Yeah, so I mean, I have yet to see someone pay me with Bitcoin, but it's a good way to test the market. And like they say, either you buy it or you earn it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really. I mean, I have. I'm 42 years old, and I've been investing for a while
Mm-hmm.
in different stocks and bonds. I would say that my second specialty besides medicine is finances. And I'm really fascinated with Bitcoin. Like it has become one of my passions, especially after medicine. I think it's really gonna change the world. I'm a big believer. I don't like to put labels on myself, but I think I'm a Bitcoin maximalist.
Did you get into Bitcoin recently or has it been very long?
No, not just recently, just this past year.
Oh, nice. Nice.
I would say since March of last year or so.
So you've seen the ups and the downs. Are you worried about this downtrend? Do you think the price will recover?
Well, I crashed the Dow Jones yesterday because I was liquidating some stocks I could buy more.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah, it's the way to go.
I have to say I'm pretty chill when it comes to investing. I've traded, I've done options. I'm a client of Tone as well, Tone Vase,
Mm-hmm. So,
and
so you know how to not spend more than you can afford to lose, right? It's always a side thing.
yeah, kind of. I mean, I do have more than what I wanted in Bitcoin initially.
Mm-hmm.
I was, I wish I had less than what I have, especially when the downtrend happens.
Sure.
But but you just have to like with any investment, really the biggest thing is you have to mitigate your risk by how much money you put in and how much you're willing to invest.
Absolutely. I think that's hard for a lot of people. They want to put in a lot of money because they want to make a lot of money, and that's not always how it works out, right?
Yeah, no, but you have to with anything you invest in, you have to be grounded. Like if I make 5% in a year in something, I'm really happy. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
so making a 1%, like they used to say in BitConnect, it's just like crazy. People would really fall for that. Unfortunately, I think we need a lot of financial literacy, when it comes to this, and you're just gonna get rich slowly. Really, what gives you more Bitcoin is just slowly buying more. I think.
Slowly buying
That's
more. There's no tricks, no secrets there.
No, because trading, like you guys always point out, like Bitcoin Meister always points out, you have to really dedicate yourself to being in front of the computer, reading the charts, and the technical analysis does work to some extent. But like yesterday, we had the big news. I don't really know if we bounced from 5,900 because we had to bounce from there technically, or if it was the news or whatever. But the market is gonna go up. People are gonna take profits. It's gonna come down. So you just have to. If you believe in something, just invest in it, and the fundamentals long term is what matters. Short term,
Absolutely.
yes,
Yeah.
technical analysis works, but but you have to be in front of your computer and be all day trading. I have a medical practice. I can't do that.
Absolutely, and it's too hard to sleep too if you try to trade. You never know if you should sleep in crypto or sleep in fiat. So
Exactly. So it's too much stress. You're checking the numbers all day. The best thing is to not even look at it. You just, it has come down. You just buy a little more, like you always say. So, but my biggest issue that I had when this started, bouncing back, is that I just see all the altcoins just bouncing back like crazy.
yeah.
You know, so so I think I think they really need to crash hard and not recover in order for the bubble to really burst. And as long as that's the only thing that I'm noticing that I don't like much is that when Bitcoin bounces back, everything else bounces back with a higher percentage. And not because I'm jealous or anything, but I just think there's not much fundamental investing right now.
I
It's
would I would agree with that. I mean, we have no idea the amount of age of people in this market. There might be some really young people, and like you said, some really inexperienced people. And it is frustrating as a Bitcoiner because you think you have this digital gold, you have this product that's better than all the other products, but at the same time, yours goes up 15%, theirs goes up 30%. And that's why, even as hard as it is, even when I'm a pretty big Bitcoin maximalist and all that, but still, I tell people now, try to mutual fund it with your riskier investments. Invest in 10 of these crazy
Mhm.
altcoins, see what happens. I'm not any particulars, but if you pick the top 10, give it a try. You might make money. So, and that's what everybody seems to be in the space for. A lot of people, anyway. So,
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, but you have to. The problem is when things crash and don't recover. That's when you kind of learn. You know, you're gonna be the last one selling, or the one holding
well,
the last one holding the bag.
and I don't want to be mean to them, but I think these BitConnect holders may be the ones taking the lesson right now. Previous, it was things like OneCoin or
Mhm.
God, I've forgotten the name, Hashcoin or what was it called? That great, there's that great, wonderful coin that. Uh,
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I wasn't
well,
really. I mean, the only thing I can tell the audience is I'm a I'm a very conservative investor. I pretty much buy stocks that pay dividends. Like when it comes to my stock portfolio, my crazy stuff is Amazon, Google, and Apple. If you want to call those crazy.
there you go. So you're
And
with the tech stops. So.
and I consider Amazon and Google, speculative because they don't pay me a dividend. So I like dividend paying stocks. My strategy is, if it goes down, the dividend compounds. You buy stocks cheaper. I put it on dividend reinvestment, so you automatically buy more stock when it goes down. It's a
Mm-hmm.
very conservative approach. Yes, it takes a long time, but after 30 years, you do well. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, very conservative.
I
And
think that's the way to go. It's nice and safe that way. Yeah.
yeah, but at the same time, I do consider Bitcoin conservative. I don't know, like when I talk to my friends, I,
I think you're.
I have yet to convince one of my very close friends from high school to buy point 0.1 Bitcoin or 0.001 Bitcoin. They just don't.
Well, and I think that's a good topic to talk about today about how to convince your friends. So thank you so much, Ilka, for the call.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, give us a call
Thank you,
anytime.
Thomas. I'm sorry I touched about other subjects, but you know,
No, no, I think it's
I
good.
didn't,
People want
I
to
didn't
know,
know
and
you
they.
were gonna call me, so because I was
I
driving.
like that they have a measured portfolio. That you're not all in crypto or you're not in all in one thing. I think that's really important for everybody.
No, and it's good because when this happens like now, I did sell some S&P ETFs that I had that I
Hmm.
didn't want to sell, but we have a bubble too in the S&P, and I said, what the hell? What am I gonna buy right now that's 70% down? Well, guess what? My favorite investment of all, Bitcoin.
There you go. 70%
Uh,
off sale.
exactly.
All right. Thank you
All
so
right,
much for your
Thomas.
call. All right. So we have a question I see in the chat. Thank you, tune in and drop out for a $10 question. He says, actually, if you think about the timing of the market dropped, it followed the drop in the Bitcoin price. Seems like there could be folks moving from traditional stocks to crypto. And what do you guys think about that? Was the Dow fall connected to crypto? I'm not so sure on that. The Dow is a lot bigger than crypto. I know we like to get excited about Bitcoin and Ethereum and the rest of the crypto world, but we are very small still compared to the Dow. But let's talk about that. Let's also talk about what the caller was talking about. He still can't convince one of his close friends to buy Bitcoin. I've had that same experience. All right, we've got another call. Hold on. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network.
Hey man, how's it going? It's really great to talk to you. I've been listening to your show for a while now.
Cool. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Conrad. I'm calling from Southern California.
All right, Conrad. What do you think about Bitcoin today?
It's a bloodbath, at least a couple of days ago, but
Hmm.
now it's starting to make me feel a little better. I think overall,
It helps when it bounces on the good news, right?
it's always good to see that. I usually try to turn off my phone and my portfolio checkers. Like whenever I see red, I just I'll leave that alone for a couple of days and come back to it, see what happens.
Yeah, I hid my Blockfolio app in some folder somewhere, so it's not on the main screen anymore. So I try not to look at it. But I liked yesterday's news. We were talking about how everyone maybe it went up on the news, but remember you could read this news ahead of time. They released all their statements the day before, so if you wanted to know what they were going to say, anyone could have went to the congressional website and read it. So.
Oh yeah, they actually did see that too, and I was like, oh, I guess it's. I mean, it sounded like it was looking good, and then it actually didn't turn out to be too horrible. Actually, I thought it was going to
No.
be way worse than what they actually talked about.
What I liked is they really seemed interested in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. They didn't seem afraid of it. So many times we just hear that it's drug currency in the Silk Road, but they seem much more inspired. So
Literally having just one person be positive about it is a win in this situation.
it is such a shock for us. So how did you get into Bitcoin? Have you been into it very long?
I've been using crypto for almost 2 years now, and just kind of using it to buy small things here and there. And the past 6 months, I've been getting even deeper into it. And I've been going. I'm a veteran, so I've been using my GI Bill to play with different school programs. I'm in MRI school right now that I just finished, and I actually got offered a possible job at a cryptocurrency company, and I'm really excited.
Make sure they pay up front, right?
I gotta see something up front, otherwise
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
gonna be hard to a little hard to pay the bills, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, I know everyone, we all want to be a part of this industry and we all want to do a part of it, but it can be so hard in this industry to find the right company to work for. And even if you do find a great company, sometimes they want much more time and much more work than you have to give, or things just don't turn your way in the winds. It's a tough market, but it's definitely growing. So.
Well, at least I mean I kinda wanted to ask your opinion. At least once they have like their white paper finished and the company's kinda all set up, would it be all right if I sent you the white paper just so you could look at it and kind of be like, hey, this looks kind of legit or kind of not?
It's tough. I'm pretty critical of kind of all the ICOs, so I might not be the right person to ask on this. A
Oh,
lot
that's
of
even
it's
better. I rather get like a blunt, uh, a very critical, very thorough look at what this, at least what this company would try to do. And because when I think of crypto, I think of it like working for Blizzard or working for Riot Games. It's exciting to me. Like I love that. I love the world.
Yeah, as much as it might not be exciting, the place to start might be tech support at Coinbase or at, one of these exchanges.
Yeah.
I know it's not sexy at all, but, if you know how to log into Bittrex and trade Ethereum for Litecoin and then back into something else, you're a trading genius, and you could teach hundreds of others, and, things like that. I think there's a lot of, openings to, support these larger companies. I think these newer companies, uh, I mean, they're all kinda similar, but then once they get the money, they're as real a company as you've seen, so then it's all about the people in charge and if they have good character and what they wanna do and if it's, even feasible to do it, so
That's one of the biggest issues. I can't talk about it because I already signed like an NDA with them, just in case things do work out with them, and I actually want to pursue it, basically. But they basically already have money, so they don't even need to do an ICO. I don't even think they are going to do an ICO. Um, I think they're just going to go with it, just like start it up.
well, that sounds better than not to than, not having money and having to do the ICO, so
Oh yeah, definitely. The one thing that makes me feel like way more comfortable about it is they already have people that they're paying, so they're already like working, and I know these people that are actually already getting paid and working with them. So that
well
does make me feel better. But once I see like a business plan and everything's all set up, I just want to get as many eyes on it as possible so I can like get everyone's opinion about it.
well, I think it sounds interesting. I would just say, have a good savings. And, also, for me, it was so tough because I come from the, like, the normal job world, and when I would get a normal job and people are like, "Wow, you're clever, you can do a lot of things, we're gonna keep you here forever," they really meant that. I worked at the law firm for 7 years, and, I was, indispensable the whole time, right, until they merged with a larger law firm. So, but a lot of these startups and a lot of these, kinda new ICOs and things, 3 months, they have this 3-month trial period. So keep an eye on that. And,
Definitely that.
even a
Yeah.
year, like, you might be kinda long in the tooth after a year. They might just wanna change the scenery, and you're a good guy and they're good guys, but at the same time, nothing lasts forever in this startup world. So it could be pretty cutthroat, so make sure you got a good savings, and then if you think it's exciting, I mean, do it for a few months. But also, the watchword for these startups, if they stop paying you, you need to get a new job. Even if they're the nicest guy in the
Definitely.
world and they say they're gonna pay you next month and they're gonna get you, 2 months down the line, and pretty soon you've been 3 months without pay, um, you gotta get out on that 1st month. You gotta see it coming. So, yeah,
Yeah,
let me know how it goes.
100% agree with that.
Yeah, I definitely give it a
Girls gotta
try.
get paid either way. So
Definitely. Well, thanks so much for the call.
yeah, thank you so much, man. I appreciate all the basically just free information you're giving out. So it's
That's
awesome,
right
man.
on.
Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you so much. Give us a call again soon. All right. And you can call us now at the World Crypto Network on Skype. Just call us right now. Otherwise, I'll read more books or I'll talk about this Kashmir article. But first, let's say what you guys have been talking about in the chat. Um, Fiat Punta says, I worked for a .com back in the day. Wild ride. And I agree. It is a wild ride. It's a pretty stressful. You got to work all the time. You got a lot of goals you have to meet, sometimes even unreasonable goals. And if you're lucky and you hit your unreasonable goals, maybe you're set. And if you're not, you're not. And different things, programmers are different than marketing guys, and tech support people are different than all those. So I don't know. You got to do what you got to do in the startup world. I saw you guys talking about Richard Hart. I like Richard Hart, but I'm not sure why the community is so focused on him. It's a bummer if he's lost money, and I know he's obviously lost faith in Bitcoin and he doesn't believe it can go up, and that's too bad. And I hope he's feeling better, but I also think that the community shouldn't give him so much credit and so much of their mind share. I'm not, you shouldn't be worried about Richard Hart's bottom line. You should be worried kind of about your own, or you should be worried about other sources of information. It just seems a lot of focus. But then again, this is Bitcoin, so the chat is all tone, 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 and Richard Hart, Richard Hart, Richard Hart. Let's see. The dog is not too well. I don't want to talk about the dog. They're saying silver is better than gold. Bud Thompson says he gives his friends the every millionaire in the world can't own one Bitcoin statistic. I agree. That's a very good statistic for convincing friends. In case of those who haven't heard it, there's only 21 million Bitcoin. So if you think about how many millionaires there are in the world, there's more than 21 million. So if each one of their millionaires said, stop what we're doing, stop everything, and they said, Jeeves, come here, get me a Bitcoin, they wouldn't be able to do it, right? Not only would the buying pressure of 21 million individuals suddenly jumping on the Bitcoin market drive the prices up, so they'd have to pay more to get their one Bitcoin, but just in pure numbers, there's not enough Bitcoin. And with Bitcoin already 80% mined out, the people who have a large amount of Bitcoin pretty much are the people who have a large amount of Bitcoin. The Winklevi made a large buy 4 years ago. If you think about it now, I don't think they could make the same kind of buy. They certainly would get the same number of Bitcoin, but percentage-wise, if you wanted to buy 10%, 20% of Bitcoin, I don't think you could do it without affecting the rest of the market, driving it crazy, and then just the numbers aren't there. How do you convince your friends to buy Bitcoin? My friends, I used to give them $1 or whatever. Now the dollar is worth $8 or it's worth $14. And you think that would cause them to lose their mind. But sadly, they just tell me that the run is over. They say, Bitcoin's hit its heights. It's over now. Oh, sure, I could have got it then, but now it's over. What your friends say? Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network.
Hey, Thomas, it's the Joint Specialist.
All right, Joint Specialist. Where are you calling from?
From Arizona.
All right. What's on your mind about Bitcoin? Or do you have a story about convincing your friends?
No, I had a story about Square. I get verified.
Nice.
Got the BTC.
Cool.
And it took a while to get it out. I had to go through tech support for like about 6 or 7 agents. Because I bought about $10 worth of Bitcoin.
Sure.
And it wouldn't, and I got verified, and then I tried to send it out using the wallet. So you can only send out, they just call it withdraw.
Yeah.
And so I tried that, and it wouldn't work. And so I sent it, and it kept getting the same error. Like this wouldn't, I forget what the error said, but it just said it could not initialize or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Try again later or contact support. And so then they told me what their minimum withdrawal was, which was 0.00015 BTC. I had more than that. Still couldn't do it. So after just many tech support emails, I ended up buying $5 more worth of Bitcoin just because the price was going down, and I figured I'd give it a try. And so then I bought that, and then I sent it out successfully.
Huh.
I think their minimum withdrawal is 0.001, and no one there really knew what the hell they were doing.
I've had that happen where the programmers set a variable, but they don't tell the tech support staff. That's not completely unusual.
I kept getting the same response from like 4 different agents. But so it did finally withdraw. In about 16 hours, it finally got broadcast to the network. And they paid about 200 Satoshis per byte, which was definitely more than they could have paid at the time. It was not SegWit.
And did they batch it? So it was a non-SegWit, non-batched transaction?
Yeah, and if you look on the blockchain, you can see how like each payment is like peeled off a large part of Bitcoin, and it just branching off of that one piece.
That's funny. So you can see how much money Square has right now to pay people in Bitcoin.
Exactly.
Well, they're new, they just got here. That also shows us, you said the tech support thing is one thing on the side, but the way they're sending the Bitcoin, and especially if they're flashing their WAD, how much money do they have? How much? Just an estimate. Even.
They had from the source I got, it was something around 99,000. Let me see. I pulled up the.
Oh, $99,000. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So when when it sent to me, it peeled off Bitcoin. It was 11 Bitcoins.
Yeah. I mean, guys, that's funny. 11 Bitcoins is $99,000, but yeah, no, that's just funny because not that that money could be stolen or is in any way at risk, but just there's different ways to program that where we wouldn't see how much money they had. But the way that they programmed it is kind of a day one. It's like a first step. So
Definitely.
well, that's cool.
All right,
They
well,
sent you
thanks,
the
Thomas. I've been listening since 2013.
Oh, nice.
Long time listener, first time caller, and donator.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for your support, and thank you for listening. And yeah, give us a call back again soon. It'd be good.
All right, take care. See you.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye. So he got to try out the Square app. Sounds pretty cool. I have it on my phone, but I don't think I have the right version or whatever, so I need to be approved and added to the crypto thing, so I can do Square, which would be cool. So it's just accepting a few more people here on Skype. You can go ahead and friend us, World Crypto Network, all one word, and then I'll accept you, and then you can call us. But before that, we were talking about friends and how to get them into Bitcoin. And one of the ways you suggested was using the 21 million millionaires can't have a Bitcoin each. Other people in the chat say telling people that you can buy a fraction of the Bitcoin is the entire argument and the entire point that they want to make. And that's a really strong one. My brother, he got that Robinhood app and he's going to try it out. And he put, $100 in the Robinhood app. And then he's like, well, darn it, I can't get a share of Apple. I can't get a share of Google or whatever it is, or Alphabet these days. And I told him, no, the genius of the Robinhood app is you can buy this 0.1 of a stock. It's this stocks for small people. And I'm hoping because of their new partnership with Bitcoin and the other 16 altcoins they're going to add, that Robinhood will help Square and others explain that message that you can buy a 0.1 or a 0.01 of a Bitcoin. I do think people need to learn that. He said, yeah, a lot of us have tried this in stores. This guy says he offered his friend the barber a 20-pound note, an ounce of silver, and the equivalent in Bitcoin. He took the 20-pound note. Most people in stores won't believe you on the Bitcoin. They won't believe you on the other things. And even then, I've had issues myself with the transaction fees where I sent a low fee and my transaction did get bounced back. So there's a new thing to watch out for. And that's so complicated for a new user. So we had a couple more guys looking to call us on Skype. We're going to go and accept them. And then what's going to happen is they're both going to call at the same time. But maybe I'll accept them slowly and they'll call one at a time. Generally, yeah, everyone, we have one Skype line. So call us slowly. But also call us. And I was supposed to set a topic to make it easier. So the topic is how to convince your friends to buy Bitcoin. Everybody has some experience with that. And also how to convince people in restaurants and things. I was in Vienna not so long ago, and I convinced 2 waitresses at the restaurant to accept $1 in Bitcoin for me, or I think I sent them €1, baller, and sent them a euro in Bitcoin, and we were on a good run. I think it went up from like 5,000 to 7,000 back then, and pretty soon they had €1.50, and they were on their way. And that can be really neat for people. And then the fun or sad thing about that, the third waitress didn't have her phone, or she didn't know her login password for the app store or something like that. And the other ones will always have this little bit of Bitcoin and she won't. And you can create that for yourself at any place that you go. Just say, hey, I'll give you $1. Or I know the fees are high. Maybe give them $10. If you've done really well with Bitcoin, you can afford to give them $10. We've got another call here. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network.
Hey, this is John Ruggieri, aka Free Gen X. I've been listening forever and a big fan. Love getting into the Twitter banter.
Yeah.
And,
so
this is a good topic. So
welcome aboard, John. Anything you want to say about Bitcoin today, or do you have a way to convince your friends?
So what works for me, and it's worked for me half a dozen times. So I'm feeling like it's a pretty good approach. Is just to sit them down and, as long as it takes, explain to them the happening. And so, and explain to them, okay, here is the creature from Jekyll Island and the legacy money system.
Sure.
And then here is the chart of how much money was printed since 2008. And then say, here is the opposite way money could work. Here is deflationary currency on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And that always works well for me, because when the light in the attic finally comes on and they're like, oh my gosh, you mean to tell me that the more popular that Bitcoin gets, the less of it is issued every year, and the whole supply and demand curve kicks in their brain, and then they're like, okay, I get it, I want all the Bitcoin. And I'm like, well, good luck. Now I have to tell you about Coinbase. That was the good news. Now here comes the bad news.
And then do you set them up on Coinbase with a recurring buy, or do you try to just get them to buy like $100 or just a little amount?
So it depends on the financial state of the friend I'm talking to, but for the most part, if it's just the average Joe, yeah, a reoccurring buy works. Or get your money set up in the USD wallet, and I teach them what a limit buy is, and I'm saying, get your money in GDAX and just sit and wait, and decide ahead of time the price you want to pay, and just be patient and let the price come to you, and have your limit buy in place already. That way you don't have to be up at 3 a.m. when the dip occurs.
That seems pretty reasonable.
Go that way.
Pretty good. Yeah, I'm desperate to get my friends to sign up for recurring buys, but one of them, I can't convince her of how the dollar cost averaging works. She calls me up and she's like, oh, I paused it. I paused the buy. And I'm like, yeah, but Bitcoin's down now. You could get a really good buy that would, even out your earlier not so good buys. It's just like, if you pause it every time the price goes down, you're never going to get any good buys. And it's just
right. Yeah. And then if you're chasing like the perfect buy, then your limit order just sits out there forever. But anyway, I just wanted to check in, and thanks for having me on. And from Atlanta and the Tab meetup and the Atlanta Bitcoin meetup, we're always listening.
Oh, very cool. Thanks for being on, and thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again soon, John.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye. And yeah, you can call us on Skype at World Crypto Network. I think it's working a little better today. We're a bit later in the day than we usually are, so maybe people are kind of getting off work and they can give us a call. Let's see. So we're talking about Bitcoin, and yeah, it's a good idea to convince your friends with the explain the halvening argument. I like that. That's a good one. You think it would be too technical or too complex, but he's right. It really does get down to the source of deflationary money and the difference between U.S. fiat currency, which is always printing, and this Bitcoin. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network.
Hello.
Hello. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Ben from Omaha.
All right, Ben from Omaha. What's on your mind about Bitcoin, or do you have a way to convince your friends?
Well, I'd say that everybody I talk to is always concerned about it's too expensive for them. And even though this fractional, ability exists, and many of them, unfortunately, are persuaded to get into crypto, but they don't buy Bitcoin.
Well, I've sent a lot of people to the Coinbase website, and these days it's just like a 4-way panel, and they'll come back with some Litecoin and some Ethereum because it was cheaper. And it's like you send a kid to the store to buy batteries or something like that. Right. Comes back with a potato.
So I have this idea. I know that the concern exists out there, and there may be, like when you do the pricing in Satoshis and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it might be interesting if there was a ICO of sorts that was just like to sell Satoshis. kind of
Well,
like
I mean, part of
you
the,
know,
the
those
problem now,
stocks,
it's
like
hard to send them around,
tracking
but
stocks.
if you had like a SegWit Lightning implementation just to give you some Satoshis or something like that.
Well, some corporations would have tracking stocks. Like that's kind of a concept. So that's sort of the idea. You're buying the same thing, but the idea would be then, I think you've talked about it before as well, where, you know, make it obvious on the Coinbase, you know, cart that you can buy. Maybe they even offer Satoshis, you know.
Well, there's a couple of different ideas. I know Jimmy Song, and this started even 3-4 years ago. People wanted to switch to bits, and they wanted to move the decimal place down, so that
Right.
instead
Okay.
of getting a Bitcoin, you'd get like 1,000 bits or 100 bits or something.
Right. I saw that on the BIP proposal that Jimmy Song wrote. So
Mhm.
how would they get the market to adapt?
I think that's precisely the problem. They could, require it, mandate it, and open source, and we could all agree as a big consortium. But Coinbase needs to change their webpage. And for all we know, Coinbase likes it the way it is, where it's a four-way pick, and you randomly choose the company that you want. As far as like minor and basic suggestions that Coinbase could do, if they auto-filled $20 into the Bitcoin field, and your first response when you got to the page was to see that you could buy $20, maybe
Right.
that would convince people, but that's just a UI trick. We can't do that everywhere. But maybe if we did start doing it everywhere, people would get it. I don't know.
True. Yeah, but I do see that as the same thing you mentioned, where they get to the the store and they see the others, and then that even, you know, they may not even have known about those. And I know a friend of mine who at one time had some Bitcoin, but you know, now he's sort of into some of the others, Litecoin or Ethereum and these things. So
Mhm.
yeah, anyway, it's kind of an ongoing thing, and the only thing I could see is if there was this smaller denominations that were then became conversant. So like people aren't just talking about Bitcoins, they could be talking about these sub denominations and be able to say, oh, you know, a quarter of a Bitcoin's worth this much now, or whatever, you know. So you get it down into like sub $100 level, then it's more enticing for a lot of people.
It could be, but yeah, it is so funny the way that people go to the store and they come back with some Litecoin, and pretty soon they're telling you, the guy that got them into crypto, that Litecoin's better than Bitcoin, and they're going to do all this, and maybe it went up 15% and Bitcoin only went up 10, and they'll be waving their Litecoin flag and crowing and the whole thing, and there's nothing technical about it. I mean, they're very different stocks. Like you're making a different choice. So,
Right.
uh,
Yeah, totally. Hey, I'll let you go. By the way, you back the character you used to, your alter ego or whatever you called
oh,
it.
bring back Mad Bitcoins.
That thing was that character's awesome, man.
I'll definitely look into it. I haven't done one in a little while, so it needs to come back. Just have
Yeah,
to set up the green
awesome.
screen and
Great talking with you.
figure it out. Oh, thanks so much for the call. Give us a call anytime.
All right, bye.
All right, bye-bye. And you can give us a call on Skype, World Crypto Network, all one word. I'm adding in some more people, making sure everybody's added and accepted. So just add World Crypto Network as a contact. Bring back Mad Bitcoin. Well, I will, but sadly, I hate to tell you, but more people watched me on the Today in Bitcoin show than they watched me on Mad Bitcoins. I've got a lot of negative comments about the voice, but it is fun. It's fun for me to do. It's kind of like jazz music. They say the only people that like jazz music are jazz musicians because they get to play it. Maybe it was like that. So I'm checking. Oh, a new version of Skype is available. It will update, but not until I exit. So I'm not going to exit. The voice was the best. Yeah. Well, and it was also, I watched some old Mad Bitcoins lately. When I dress up in a costume, I get really mean. Like those Life on Bitcoin people. I think, well, I think I was right. I'm not going to say that I wasn't right, but I was going to say I was mean to those people. But they raised like 10 Bitcoins and $70,000 to do their documentary around the same time Mad Bitcoins was raising, $500 and half a Bitcoin. and I knew that I was going to make more episodes than them, and I knew that I was going to pump them out for free into the YouTube world. And they made a cool movie, but it was hard to see, and I only saw it once at the Internet Archive, and I'm not sure it's made it out to iTunes or anything since. But you know, they're good people, and it was hard for them to make a movie. They shot a lot of. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network.
Hey, Thomas. This is Wouter.
All right, Wouter, where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Oaxaca, Mexico.
Oh, very cool. And what's on your mind about Bitcoin, or do you have a way to sell your friends on Bitcoin?
Yes, I was. I heard the ones before that is saying
Yep. Oh.
that you yeah, that's comparing the sounds with the hardware. Well, that you explain to them that that there's not so much Bitcoin and how much euros there are printed every month. That's one of the key things, I think. But there was one thought I had. Yeah, that's what I was calling for. The problem is a lot when people think about Bitcoin, they say it's too expensive. You were talking about that.
Sure.
And I found a way to explain to them, because the price of Bitcoin seems very expensive, but then I say, well, the price of gold is also expensive. Some people they use the price of gold in kilos, you know. Like I don't know how much it is, $30,000 or so for a kilo, but it's just used to indicate the price, not to. People don't usually go to the store to buy a kilo of gold, and this is a way I found that people can understand. Oh yeah, it's just then it can click, you know.
So you're in favor of the bit. So they should buy a bit of Bitcoin like you'd buy a kilo of gold.
No, I don't think the bit story is ever going to work.
Nah,
it's too confusing, yeah. The pricing, Bitcoin is now priced. The bits are actually what we're talking about bits. We're not talking about Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is an arbitrary unit. I think. Yeah. So we're talking about bits, but in fact, but the unit is already used. Everybody uses Bitcoin to indicate the price of bits. So
I think we're just going to have to get a lot better at decimals, right? 0.1, 0.001. I've even said, and no one listened to me, but I've said that we should put a comma in the decimals so that you could do like 3 zeros in decimals. I'm showing the people in chat. I think things like this would make decimals more readable. But then part of the problem I've seen Europe, they're using the comma and the period interchangeably for prices.
Yes. Yes.
That confuses everything.
You can group decimals. You can make them 3 gray and 3 normal color, like something like that. You know.
I agree. Colors would be a good idea. Also, I've seen people say just in words, they say like trip 01. You know, it's faster than saying 0001. So.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's ever going to convince people to make it easier.
Yeah. It can be a good idea, but yeah, who's ever gonna convince everybody to use this thing?
Person in the chat says, "Down with decimals." He's a fraction maximalist. Thinks we should be doing a 1/100 or 1/1000. That sounds like a lot of work.
Yes, actually, my hometown. Amsterdam. I had contact earlier. We were talking about that you could come by in Amsterdam. Remember?
Very cool. Well, I hope to be back there again soon. We've had a great discussion on my wall about the Amsterdam flag. I'm 50-50 on. I might just take the flag down, which direction it goes. But yeah, I did recognize your name, Wouter. Very much a Dutch name.
Yes.
So thank you so much for your call, Wouter. All
Okay.
right. Yeah, give us a call again soon.
Yes, and I'm enjoying your work. It's great.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. You can give us a call on World Crypto Network, Skype, World Crypto Network. And yeah, an old friend of mine was named Wouter. He was from Amsterdam, and he lived in San Francisco. So a really cool guy. But yeah, I had a great time in Amsterdam. Oh, we got another call. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey there, Thomas. Yeah, you can call me Uncle G, and I'm.
Oh, Uncle Jay, and I got about every other word. Give it one more try. Oh, bet the microphone worked every time, but when you use it. I don't know. Oh, sorry, buddy. We can't hear you. We're going to go to another call. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network.
Hey, Thomas. This is Assad Ahmed.
Hello, Assad. Where are you calling from?
Right?
I can hear you pretty good. Sounds like you're yelling. But go ahead. What's your, how can you convince your friends to buy Bitcoin, or what's on your mind?
It's tough because even I was a difficult person to convince also. The first time I heard about Bitcoin was actually last June. And it was when the price spiked to $2,000. So I asked one of my friends who loves Tesla and is all into technology, I asked him, should I buy Bitcoin? And he said, no, it's just a bubble. And I thought about it. I was like, yeah, anyway, I don't have $2,000 to spend on it anyways.
Sure.
And then in November, I heard about Litecoin, and I saw it was worth $45. I was like, and I read a little more about cryptocurrency, and it really made sense. Peer-to-peer transaction, and no bank in between, because I went to the Bitcoin.org website. So I was like, Litecoin is affordable, so I bought Litecoin, and then in December it just popped. I made like $300 right off the bat. I was like, holy, this is something. And
I'm trying to convince other people to buy in. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
No, with the Litecoin and those crazy altcoins, I'm just telling people to throw some random money in them and see how it goes, right? I mean, who knows?
If you have the excess money.
Sure, sure. Well, even
it's hard. Living in America,
$10 in a coin will help you. I mean, it's a wild market out there. So
that is true, but I mean, the real value is the utility it offers to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right now everyone lives in debt. The economy is driven by debt. Here I am. I went to college just like my parents want me to, and I'm struggling to make ends meet. Why? Because I have tons of loan. I have car. You need car these days to get around from work to school to any other recreational activities you have going on in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And you go to school. Why? So you can get the skills you need, get the education you quote unquote need to get a good paying job so you can take care of yourself and your loved ones. And it becomes really hard, and you start to realize that you feel like you're some sort of financial cattle where you're just working just to pay off bills or put money in someone else's pocket. And Bitcoin gets rid of that. It eliminates that.
It really does. I know a lot of people who have paid off their student debt with Bitcoin.
I'm sorry?
I know a lot of people have paid off their student debt with Bitcoin.
That's actually what I'm trying to do right now, so I can be financially free. And this is just my understanding of Bitcoin. This is why I'm into it, because you really don't have anything if you're in debt. If you're in debt, you have nothing, because in actuality you're indebted to someone. If push comes to shove, whoever you're indebted to legally can take everything you own.
Sure.
And people don't realize that because we're just so fortunate in the system we live in. You really can't see the reality of things. You really don't own anything as long as you're in debt. And if someone really wants to go after you, they legally can and take everything you have. But with Bitcoin, if you have an asset, it's yours. No one can take it from you. If you, a lot of majority of people homes, in the U.S. Oh, but I'm calling from Illinois.
Uh-huh.
So I live in Illinois. It's snowed a lot here. I'm driving through like snow right now. It's snowed like 6 inches here.
Oh man, if it snowed twice, 2 years in a row, I would just move.
Or just embrace it. We'll build igloos that'll keep us somewhat insulated.
Well, yeah, I think that's a good idea to hold some Bitcoin, get some crazy altcoins, and try to pay down that debt. I think it's a good purpose.
Yeah, and I try to give my pitch to other people about Bitcoin on helping them see the reality. Hello?
Sure. Yeah. What's your pitch to other people? How can you make them see that Bitcoin's cool?
It's not that it's cool. It's that it's real value. It's your money. It's not in a bank. I give them an example of when I tried buying things internationally, my card gets blocked by the bank. Why? Because it's an quote unauthorized transaction, or they'll just block the transaction because it's quote unquote fraud detection. So here I am trying to make purchases and I can't. Why? Because I'm blocked by my bank. If I lose my card, I can't make any transaction. Why? Because they'll block off your account from usage until you get a new card. There's just so many blocks in the system, and then so much transaction fees that you pay, whether you pay utility bills or any other bills you're trying to pay. Those tacking on transaction fees on top of your regular bill. And I think Bitcoin can really drastically drop all these extra operational expenses that you have for living.
I think so too. A lot of systems can be automated. The bank can know if you paid your bill because you paid it in Bitcoin. It can be confirmed by the computer.
Yeah, and it's difficult to help people understand because people really don't know any other means of living really with their finances other than having it in a bank. Why? Because it's safe. Why? Because they manage it. But they don't realize that the automation power that Bitcoin actually gives you, because of the way it works, because of the ledger. It's just hard for people to become skeptical. They're like, I don't know, this will work. Okay, yeah, it sounds good and all, but no one's using it. Bitcoin is really popular, but people really don't know what it is. And when you tell people about them, they actually really don't know what it is. They think it's some sort of idea, and that it really can't come into reality because people, since day one of growing up, they're taught, that, oh, you need a bank. When you go to work, yeah, you need to open up a bank account, and this needs to happen. So it's just really difficult to get people into utilizing Bitcoin to help themselves so that they can live a happy and well taken care of lifestyle. Maybe it just requires more products that you can buy from Bitcoin. If people can buy their, backpacks, books, I don't know, anything they need, food with Bitcoin, I think they'll probably do it. Just have it delivered to the door. What do you think?
I'm not sure. I don't know if it's about just buying things. I know we tried merchant adoption really hard. I feel right now it's kind of a store of value, and it'd be good to convince your friends on the store of value. But I think what you bring up is a good point. Thank you so much for your call. We're going to talk some more about this.
All right, no problem, Thomas. It was really nice talking to you. You have a nice evening.
Thank you, and give us a call again soon. And drive safe there too. But to have this idea of what people can do with Bitcoin and why they're not getting it, I think it's interesting to think about what people think about the status quo. If they know about the Federal Reserve, if they're interested in how banks create money and how the economy works, and even what the words FDIC stand for. I know he said that a lot of people, they trust the banks and they put their money in the banks and that's where they keep them. But they don't really look at that, this is government-backed insurance and it only backs a certain amount. And if you look at all the accounts it backed, it probably wouldn't work if there was a complete run on the market. and then you have to look up the term run on the market. You have to know a little bit about the 10s and the 20s, the interesting times we had with the robber barons. There's a lot of interesting things about money and about finances that the normal person just doesn't know, doesn't care about. And that's even harder, because then you're saying, well, why should I care about history, or why should I care about things that have happened? So let's see, another call. We had this guy already. Let's see. We had one more guy who wants to be accept. And we are looking at the price of Bitcoin. It has been on a little bit of decline recently. We saw it go down to 7,570. Now it's popped back to 7,643. This is down from a recent high of 8,273. Contrary to popular belief and public opinion, the price has gone down during this show. So we are not immune to the price of Bitcoin. Oh, his mic works now. Okay, so we didn't get to talk to this guy. We're going to call this guy back. Hold on. Hello, you're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Thomas. This is Uncle G, and I'm calling you from California.
All right. And what's on your mind about Bitcoin, or do you have a way to sell your friends on Bitcoin?
Yeah, or I have thoughts on the subject, certainly. And then I'm going to be really annoying and answer a question with a question. But for starters, we might just be thinking about our target audience too broadly, as I'm finding that even if we might be like most passionate about explaining Bitcoin to our parents or our loved ones or close friends, that a lot of them just kind of get the eyes glazed over look. And, unless that person's already curious about things outside the normal system, aware of the state of affairs with the US dollar and fiat, like you were just talking about, maybe we're just going too big with who we try to get to buy Bitcoin. You know what I'm saying?
Well, part of that I agree, and I did. I went to my friends and I went to my parents and I told them all about Bitcoin, and they shrugged their shoulders. And then I went to YouTube and I told YouTube all about Bitcoin for years and years, and I found all these other people who agree with me and they think Bitcoin's super cool. But the problem is, then I go back to my parents and my family and friends and I say, well, why didn't you make lots of money, or why didn't you make any money at all? And they're like, oh, well, we didn't even put $100 in Bitcoin. And there needs to be something in between. They don't have to become a full-fledged crazy Bitcoiner checking it all the time, putting their life savings in, but we need to find a way where we can get them to put that 10 or 20 bucks in, or to start a recurring buy for like $1 a week. I wish there was like a one page where I could say, okay, scan your credit card, link your bank, and then, it'll buy $10 a week for the year. And you couldn't even configure it. It's just like it's done, and it's not even a lot of.
For sure, man. Obviously,
that's what we need, right?
Sorry, go on, Thomas.
No, go ahead. So, do you think you could get your friends to sign up for that? Is that?
Yeah, or anything that brings it, not to state the obvious, but anything that brings attention to the fact that you can buy less than 1 Bitcoins, that you don't need to pony up 5Gs, 7Gs, 10Gs to get involved. Yeah, something like that obviously sounds great. And, that's, I often find myself saying to people, just have any, not none, hedging against changes to the market in the future. But yeah, no, that's a great idea. All of those things would obviously work, It
does seem like a psychological thing, though, because even I look at the price of Bitcoin and I say, okay, it's gone down, I should try to buy one. And then I think, gosh, 7,000 is a lot of money. 5,000 is a lot of money,
Totally. I got in around 450 for what it's worth. And at first I didn't know a hard fork from a solid fork for years. And before we get onto other stuff, I want to thank you and World Crypto Network for truly showing me, an even representation of the news. Even if you report the quote negative news, you guys do a really good job of explaining things, and I'm very grateful.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, absolutely. But yeah, so it seems tied up in how to explain to someone that the mainstream media coverage is almost worse than useless. And basically, to my mind, either says, 1, get unduly excited, or 2, freak out. And how do I explain to someone that an author who they really like from Forbes or Fortune might not report accurately on Bitcoin for so many different reasons. I think that's related. What do you do with that?
Well, I think part of that is that people don't understand the mainstream media and how people can get encased in a bubble. And even if you're in technology news and you're like reporting on the newest iPhone, you might be so in that bubble that you can't see anything other than the new tech. And that not a lot of people are Renaissance men and they're not interested in everything. But yeah, it is interesting to think about, 4 years ago, I would read Forbes, or I would read all these big Fortune magazine, all these things. They tell me how bad Bitcoin was. And then I would get on the air and I would tell people how good Bitcoin was. And now I read their magazines and they're excited about the same things that I was excited about 4 years ago, but they couldn't take the time to look at them then. When the price was nothing and no one cared, and we were just talking about the what ifs, no one cared. But now the price is big, and all these ICOs and all these companies are in it. So I don't know how to change that in between here and there. How to get people to look at things outside their comfort zone or outside what they already know.
Yeah, no, it's all of that. And I imagine people talking to someone who they've had like intelligent discourse with, for years and years, and that person read two articles rather, excuse me, and then imparts to them, it's going to bubble at 6K before we went to 15, or what, and really reasonable people just riding that telephone game style all the way not to the bank. You know what I'm saying? It's weird. It's how to get past that is tied up in our central question here of how to get.
So far, I'm seeing we need to explain to them the banking system, the media system, and then how the halvening works. So
yeah, no, for sure, dude. And how could I imagine that most people would want to be in 20 kinds of denial about what could occur here in the United States with the US dollar and worldwide and other places. I can see where you would want to not think about that. However, again, that's kind of what we have to work around is
it's funny because this reminds me of the idea I used to try to sell people, and what I used to be back into in the old days is about all those buildings that fell down on that one day, and they were hit by the kerosene and all this stuff, and no one wants to talk about it. It seems like the same kind of thing where you have to know so many disciplines, and if you do, you add them together to all this knowledge that you'd rather not have. Maybe they'd rather not know that the finance system is based on nothing and could collapse at any moment. I get a lot of that, and then I say, but wouldn't you rather have some Bitcoin and know? And it's a bit of the red pill, blue pill, right?
Yeah, for sure. Which comes back to full circle to what I was thinking about. It's like maybe our target audience for these very practical explanations isn't just anyone or the people we care about the most, but making an effort to get to people who are interested in financial markets already, or naturally curious, or already libertarians, for instance, let's say.
Well, early on, I think that would work, but now it almost feels like the space has been overrun by get-rich-quickers and by kind of finance people, and they just have this one goal in their heart, that $1 million or whatever it is, and when they get it, they're like that greyhound dog that's caught the rabbit. He doesn't know what to do. The race is over,
Yeah, for sure, man. And I was really psyched to hear you say, just throw some random money on Litecoin, as I did that for the first time like an hour ago as a Bitcoin maximalist. So nice. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's
about it, which I already felt okay about it. So yeah, the water cooler talk, the FUD, reputable media outlets reporting on this so poorly. These are the things, among others, that obviously are standing in the way of us being able to convince just anyone, and just how revolutionary the concept of having a new store of value when there hasn't been something introduced like this forever, but for so many years.
I also think we might be a victim of our own success. The way that crypto and Bitcoin has gone up so much, and even Ethereum, these altcoins, these ICOs, they've all gone up so much that I think people have lost faith in them. People are like, that's gone up too much. It can't be real. So that's another thing that's hard to sell.
Yeah, No, and it is. I mean, we just took it in the eye pretty good. And you do have to have been around for years and or do a ton of research to understand how not to get wrecked, and B, how maybe you didn't get wrecked because 1 Bitcoin is still equal to 1 Bitcoin, Of course, but it's kind of like that. So maybe we should slim our target audience to people who might be more inclined to actually care in the first place that this is happening, and or be willing to think about the reality of the state of affairs in the world financially right now. Hey, can I bounce one more thing off you here?
Sure, go ahead.
I want to try to approach the subject of the happy medium between being a hardcore maximalist hodler and being a trader, as I myself, as I educated myself, just hodled, and I was in that hodler mentality, and over and over was like, well, yeah, I really could have sold some at the top there and rejammed it, and it wouldn't really have been that complicated. To the point where I've done that a couple times now, still using the hodler mentality essentially, but that's part of what we're doing, right? Is buy lowest and sell some highest. So it seems as though people feel like they need to take sides and either become traders where they're searching for that $1 million thing and listening to tone, trying to time the bottom, or that they literally just need to hodl their face off no matter what, happy medium somewhere, isn't it?
Well, I think it's about the stress, and it's about the stress of whether you look at this market and you look right here and you're like, well, it was 8,200 yesterday or whatever, and it's 7,500 now. So obviously, if I could see the future, I could have sold at 8,200 and bought at 7,500, and maybe it goes back up or whatever. Or I could have shorted, or I could have longed. I could have been pointing this direction, and that's all trader thinking. So I think part of what people want to do when they really hodl is just put it into a bookshelf or put it onto a paper or hardware wallet and forget about it. Put it in a safe. Don't worry about it. The other side is what you're saying, to buy it at the, sell it at the tops and buy it at the lows and let it go back up. I would say if you could have a mixed position, if you could hold like 30% in a savings account and 70% in your up and down account or whatever you want to do, that would be a good idea. And then maybe if it goes up and down really well and you time them well, maybe send some of that off to your savings account as an idea, sending 10% a week or something like that.
Or just, even make one sell and then just jam it back. Sorry, I play poker some, and then just jam it back in there. Sure. But nonetheless, I don't know, listener, maybe there is a middle ground.
But it can be tough, because I know what I did is that sometimes you'll get all into these numbers, like I need X number of Bitcoin. And if you get there, you're like, well, I've done it. And now if I sell any or if I invest any, I may never get X number of Bitcoin again. And that becomes a repeating prophecy, because what I did is I had basically investment money on the side that I could have put into all these crazy alts and ICOs, but instead I just held it. So it is good if your investment goes up to cut a little bit more of it loose for more risky investments, and really to have a more of a portfolio style is what I'm trying to tell people recently. And I know it's not maximalist or whatever. I'm still pretty hardcore maximalist. I'm just saying people want to make money, diversify, and that's not an unreasonable thing. So
no, for sure. You were advised, people on your channel were liberally advising us to wipe our backsides with altcoins, mostly as their primary use case. And I was feeling you, but it does seem like spreading out a little bit right now. And
well, that still might be their use case. But the other thing is that we're so early into this crypto thing that there's, a million more ready to go. There's a million more suckers coming in the door, and they're all going to buy these stupid things. And maybe they're just buying by the price. This one was 10 cents. So it was cheaper than the 25-cent one. So I bought it. We have no idea where this money is coming from or how smart it is. Yep. And the only thing we do know is, well, we don't know how early we are, but I do think we're still really early. And that's hard for people to feel But that's why I had so much trouble timing my entry into this thing. I looked at it at like $10 and I thought I missed it at $1. And I looked at it at $30 and I thought I missed it at 10. And it wasn't for me until it burst through 250. And I was like, oh, I really missed it now. That I just gave up. And I was like, if I can get a handful of these things before they go crazy, and then I just started talking about it all the time. But
yeah, that sounds like it probably worked out okay. So yeah,
not as well as you think, because it's hard to hold through all these ups and downs. The Silk Road crashes, you sell some, it goes back up, you buy some. I mean, a lot of these things, even if you talk about it, even if you think you're smart or whatever, you'll buy the opposites of what you should be doing.
No, dude, totally. And which, is a perfect segue into the last thing that I wanted to discuss, because I really want to try to, not to be like taking over the show, you're free to go, but I want to try to help people with making bad emotional decisions along the lines of what you were just discussing. I come from a poker background, or I play some poker, where eventually one realizes, you've played a little bit too, if I'm right, or a lot of you guys did.
Not professionally or anything, but I'm aware of poker.
All right, cool. So at some point you realize that if you become unreasonable, if you become emotional, it's biology that our higher brain function shuts down and we make bad decisions. So it behooves us to be really relaxed and focused and so forth. And for a while, I just thought of Bitcoin as my poker chips. When we were between like 450 and 1,000 and so forth, I prided myself on not checking price. But I hadn't educated myself yet. And then August 1st came with the SegWit lack of fork, and I, for the first time, was faced with having taken a Bitcoin swing, and I made a really uncharacteristically bad tilty decision to ship some to US dollar when I really, really wish where it would have been better for me to research 2 days, turn my computer off, and basically my net worth would be twice as big right now.
Sure.
And I had to make that mistake to go about what it really took to educate myself just about the ABCs of how to handle this. So, and what I want to do is, can you speak to people who might be in that position right now, like tempted right on the edge of tilt selling? Or, I mean, it'd be so easy right now. What do you think, man?
Well, I mean, the first thing that I try to do, what's worked well for me, is to put some barriers up. So I'll have like some Bitcoin in like a Coinbase, some in a Coinbase vault, some in a hardware wallet, some in a paper wallet, and maybe some in like a wallet on your phone. So you have all these different levels of Bitcoin that you can panic sell. So if you panic sell some of the earlier ones, it doesn't matter. But if you start getting out the Trezor and the Ledger and transferring large amount of money to the exchange, you're gonna sell it. You're gonna panic sell it. So it can be really hard to make those emotional decisions. It's also hard for me to just say that you shouldn't. If you're over invested in this thing and you're losing your money, you probably, if you can't stand it, maybe you should sell. I think it's going to come back up. A lot of people think it'll come back up, but it could take years. I mean, it took a week to go down. Maybe it takes a week to go back up. But maybe it takes years. So I would just tell people to think in percentages, not to sell all of it, maybe to sell 10% of it, and then maybe to sell 30%. And then the other thing is, like you're saying, to wait, to give it time. A friend of mine, Mark, in Amsterdam, he always says that he goes for a walk. Before he sells or before he buys, he goes for a walk. And then even after he makes a trade, he'll put it in, he'll buy, and then he'll go for a walk. So he won't look at it right away. I think it's a lot about self-control, and that's not something that people have anymore.
Yeah, people aren't really leading the league in self-aware. Those are great suggestions. Like, I mean, listen to what Thomas just said. Like, we basically just set up a defense system where even if we know we're working against psychology that's maybe not optimal, people will feel like they did something if they sell that amount that they have in wallet X, and then they can feel like they did something about it and stop tripping out, So that's a very good suggestion.
We've also got the other basic ideas, like if you get your the amount of money you spend each month, get your expenses really low so you're spending less money, cancel your extra monthly fee things like, Spotify or some of these other services. You get too many services, you don't use them all. Any of these things, spending less money, and Bitcoin teaches you this. It teaches you how to save, because everyone says, "Oh, I spent a Bitcoin or two last month to live," and they're like, "If I had that this month, I'd have so much more money," and that keeps happening. So
totally. And I do legitimately feel bad for anyone who bought some super not on sale Bitcoin and then just immediately took in the eye, especially if you do really believe in the technology. Hey man, thank you for your time, and thanks again so much for all the good information. And
yeah, thanks for the call, Uncle Jay. Definitely give us a call again, man.
All right, bro.
All right, bye. And you can call us on Skype, World Crypto Network. Let's see, we had a call. We're gonna call him back. Hold on. Wonder if they changed the ring sound. It seems a little less dancey than it used to be. Oh, all right. Well, we are here. We are on Skype, World Crypto Network. See if I can maybe accept some more people here and open up. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. Oh, but your microphone's not working. Almost heard it. Almost worked. Oh.
Oh,
Hello?
Wi-Fi is a little weak. Are we better?
Oh, I think I can hear you now. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
You know what? I call you back in 5 seconds. Again, I'll call you back in 10 seconds.
All right, we'll give you a call back. Try it again. You can call us now at Skype World Crypto Network. So you got another call. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Chris Rice, aka Rice Crypto, Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
All right, and what's on your mind? Do you have a story about Bitcoin or a way to convince your friends to buy it?
Well, I just kind of want to talk about the fact that I think that people in the space need to come together and rally behind Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the train that rides the tracks, you know?
All right, be sure to turn your TV or computer down there. I think I can hear it. But yeah, so Bitcoin's the train that drives the tracks. You're not worried about Ethereum or Litecoin or any of these altcoins?
Oh, no, I'm very super bullish on Litecoin, but I think that Bitcoin is definitely going to be leading the way for all this. And people like Roger Ver, trying to divide up the community as to what people think is the coin value and what makes the Bitcoin the Satoshi coin. I think people need to support Bitcoin, just in my opinion.
I think so. I've been definitely supporting Bitcoin. What can we do about these people when they come and take the name of Bitcoin? Do you think it's okay for Bitcoin Cash to be called that?
Yeah, I mean, we live in a free world, so yeah, it is all right with that. But people need to do their research, and that's the reason why I wanted to call in, was because I really respect what you're doing with your YouTube channel. I also started a YouTube channel to try to educate people as well, because I think it's important for us to be able to help and be a community. So I encourage people to definitely educate themselves, and you could check me out on YouTube at Rice Crypto. Didn't mean to give a little shout out, but
well, very cool, and it's good to give the shout out, man. So I think what's nice about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies is without a central company promoting Bitcoin or a Bitcoin Incorporated, is that everyone can go out and explain Bitcoin in their own way. And there's so many different markets of people that need to hear about Bitcoin. They need to hear about Bitcoin that someone that speaks their language, right? So I think that can be really good.
I agree. And I think that the more people who get into space, that we're going to be able to have that opportunity for much more people to reach out to different people, like you're saying, just different kinds of people communicate with other people. So I think it's really important that we get that message out there, because long term, I believe in the creative destruction aspect of what cryptocurrencies are going to bring to the banking system, to the fiat money system, and how it's going to be able to change our technologies to bring us into what I think will be a better world.
Well, I think so too, and that's a good note to celebrate there. We're seeing the price of Bitcoin recover from a drop to 7,543. Now it's 7,717. It seems to be rising too.
testing that support and resistance level. But I think slowly but surely over the next week, we're going to see it going up. And I think it's going to be a healthy growth, which is what we need. What we had in December was completely unhealthy. And this correction was obviously going to come. I didn't expect it to be this big of a correction, but we needed a correction nonetheless.
It was unhealthy, but I liked it so much. Thank you so much for your call, and keep going on YouTube there. People can check you out at Rice Crypto.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And we had a couple more callers here. We're on SKYPE World Crypto Network. Looks like we're going to give this guy a call back. He says he's got his microphone working now. So we'll see how that goes. Hello, you're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Finally, I managed to get connected. My name is Hitesh Sadani, and I'm calling from Toronto.
Very cool. Welcome aboard, Hitesh. Do you have a comment on Bitcoin or a way to convince your family?
No, I just called in here to thank you for everything. I really appreciate your show. And yeah, that's pretty much
Thank you so much. And
want to talk about something else? I'm here.
Well, and I recognize your name, and I've seen you in the chat. I don't know if you're allowed to talk about this, but you told us in the chat that you do visual effects for Star Trek Discovery. So I just think that's really exciting, and I love the new Star Trek, and I think it's neat to work in visual effects. So
thank you so much. I appreciate it. I hope you like the show.
It's been good. We'll have to see about next week. They're cramming a lot of exposition and a lot of character development into some very tight episodes. So I don't know about that. I could have spent for a lot more time in this mirror universe and a lot more slowness to the speed, but they've got plots they want to crank out, and they're pounding through them.
That's nice. I hope you like it. And I'm not sure about this part, but hey, I heard they're also bringing season 2.
Really?
On the news. That's something I can talk about, but I cannot tell you if that's a confirmed thing or not. I myself don't know if it's confirmed or not.
Oh, well, I really think they should. I mean, we'll have to see about next week's episode, see how they ended, if it's got the right stuff. But even if it is just the one season, I think it was a really fun Star Trek show because it was a look into this mirror universe.
I also heard that they snuck in a contract for season 2, and the production house didn't realize what they were signing up for. Maybe.
Well, whatever it takes to get us more Star Trek.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take a short break from Star Trek, do something, and travel to Sydney and a few other places, get some other shows going.
Nice.
And then jump back into it.
Well, it must be pretty good a field to be in. Most TV shows shoot with green screen backgrounds now, right?
Sorry, come again?
Do most TV shows shoot with green screens, so they need a lot of visual effects, right?
Yeah, pretty much everything is green screen. But for Star Trek, we ended up building up like the ship and the set, so you could actually go inside the ship. It's real. But the windows, like you see the space and stuff, that's just green screen.
Sure, definitely.
The ship is real. Ship is real. I think the guy's name is Saru or Sabu.
Yeah.
Sorry, I do not know the names. His face is real. Like the makeup was all real.
Oh, nice.
But the characters, like, there's some creatures and all this kind of stuff. Though that's all CG, obviously.
Sure.
It gets a little technical when you have characters. Like in the first episode, they were in this desert-like place, and you had these creatures walking around, and we had to get like the light and all the physics right with it, which was a challenge, but we made it through. And we didn't want Star Trek fans to hate us because we messed up the physics.
Well, I know it can be tough. You're doing weekly episodes. You gotta turn them around. You gotta get them out, right?
Yeah, but I like to get everything done perfectly, so no one comes back at me and like, you screwed up. I'm like, oh, man. Also, I'm not a big Star Trek fan. I don't want to ruin for others, right?
Sure. And they can be
sure
rough
everything
too.
is done right.
They love their Star Trek.
All right, I have one Bitcoin thing, right?
Sure.
Pretty sure you know this. I keep telling this on the chat all the time. people should run full nodes.
Yeah, why should they run full
It
nodes?
doesn't cost much to run a full node. We
Yeah.
fought the battle. We had this whole civil war with Bcash and Bitcoin, just to not to increase the block size. But I think we lost the battle if no one's running the full node. You might as well increase the block size. If we do not want to increase the block size, I mean, show support by running a full node. You could run a full node in any shitty computer. The oldest laptop you got at home with a 200 gig hard drive, you can run a full node. And I've also found people telling me they're asking me if you need a super cool computer with like heavy GPU and stuff to run a full node. And that's not the case. You could run it on any computer just to support the network.
Well, I think that's good. More people should run full nodes. It helps prevent censorship of the Bitcoin
That's
network.
right, yeah.
The more spread out it is, the more people we have connected. So.
Yeah, that's really important. And if there's anyone who doesn't know how to run a full node, there's an article on bitcoin.org. They could shoot me up and message me, and I could help them set up a full node.
That sounds good. There's also some full nodes you can buy just package. And then maybe you could also run a full node on an Amazon web instance or something like that on AWS or on a server that you have.
The thing with that is I do not recommend doing that because you're kind of centralizing it to Amazon, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Amazon goes down, the Bitcoin network goes down. If like everybody's running on Amazon, you don't want the full node running to reduce because Amazon went down.
Sure.
So
you just got to spread them out and get everyone running them.
Yeah. So it's good to run it locally and not rely on a third party and don't centralize things. I mean, we got to be as decentralized as possible. And then that's the best way to do it, to run it at your home on a computer. And you do not even have to keep it online all day. You might sync it once a day. That's also fine. Whenever you're using a computer, you turn that thing on and it will sync on its own.
That sounds good. I think more people should run a full node. Thank you so much for the call.
Thank you so much for having me on.
And yeah, keep up the good work on Star Trek. Loving it, man.
Thank you. It means a lot to me coming from you.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you again soon. Give us a call later. And if you want to give us a call, we're on Skype at the World Crypto Network, or just World Crypto Network, one word on Skype. I've got a couple more people. I have to accept you before you can call. But here we go. Hello, you're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
We're on Skype. Hi. At the World Crypto Network.
Got to turn your radio down.
Network, one word on Skype.
Hello.
Hello, you got to turn your computer down. We can hear it in the background.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hi, Thomas. This is a pleasure to connect with you.
All right. What's your name? Where are you calling from? And you have something to talk about Bitcoin or a way to convince your friends?
Yeah. My name's Bruno, and I'm calling from the UK. And many months ago, when you first came on the air, I think I was one of the very first, out of the very first 5 to like your channel. And every morning I'd get up and I would hear, "Good morning, Bitcoin." And every morning, that's what I would always do, is put on your show and get the latest information. And I've been watching the World Crypto Network now for many months, and I've been following your show, and I've learned quite a lot. And I've been watching the very interesting world interest in Bitcoin, and realizing now that as many people have put a lot of money into the Bitcoin as it was going up, and it hit 20,000, the next day, the futures market decided to deal with Bitcoin, and the price started to drop. So now, as confidence in Bitcoin has dropped also because people have lost a lot of money, how do we share Bitcoin with people when they put money into Bitcoin and now it's reduced so significantly?
Well, it's painful, but if they don't need the money today, if they don't need it for their bills, if they truly invested long term, you have to tell them to stick to their original plan. So if you had original plan, you were going to hold Bitcoin for a year and sell it, stick to your original plan. You can't just break off this early. And as far as the futures thing, they can make it go up, but they can make it go down, but they can also make it go up. I've heard there's a futures contract that expires on February 14th. And after that expires, they're going to go to a 3-month run rather than these 1-month runs that we've had. So hopefully the 3-month run, they're thinking bullish and they're pushing the futures up. And who knows, we could see a 3-month run to aspire and to succeed in the futures so they can make the money. But then again, the market could turn against them even if they want to go bullish. So we just don't know.
I mean, word on the street is that the deep state is behind this decline in the market. Apparently, there was a secret message put on the stock market, 666, and it was there for Trump to see because he was going to release this FISA memo. And because he has done that, the deep state is basically looking to ruin Trump and also to damage the market, because they're saying that a lot in Congress are going to be arrested due to the Podesta Gate files and what's going on with Obama and Hillary and everything going on. So they're controlling it. And also that I heard the bankers are going to hijack the blockchain. The group are going to control blockchain and charge all the exchanges a fee so they can actually take control of this blockchain. And there's lots of organizations out there looking to circumvent the blockchain so that the bankers can, take control of it, because they obviously brought out Ripple and they created a lot of Ripple, and look how many people have lost money in Ripple because people were saying, hey, how can you going to do with it? Do anything with it? What do you want to buy it for? So they just said, well, I heard it's going up, so I might buy some. So I said, don't bother.
All right, we're having some trouble hearing you, Bruno. Strangely enough, just as you started explaining what many people would probably call a conspiracy theory, but we will try to talk about it here. I do think there were some strange things going on with the stock market. It did go downward. I'm not sure it was about the memo. And the fight in the deep state and the FBI and these kind of things. I'm not so sure that those two are connected. And then to see Bitcoin go down at the same time, I think it's just more of a timing issue. If anything, there'd be this idea that they could take down the stock market by driving Bitcoin up. So I think that would be a lot more likely than to see them both go down at the same time or to see them both go up at the same time.
I think the banks right now are stopping deposits from sales of Bitcoin back in the banks, and they've also stopped credit card transactions to purchase Bitcoin. So they're saying, that our debt-based credit cards and our debt-based system don't go out and use our false hyperinflated debt system to put us further in debt by purchasing Bitcoin. If you do that, the price will go down and we'll lose money. I mean, they know that they will become obsolete as the petrodollar is dying very badly. No one's trading with the petrodollar. We have the BRICS bank nations of the world in the yuan as the reserve currency, and Trump's in a bit of a tight corner right now. This situation is going to be affecting the monetary system, and Bitcoin's getting behind of it, even though everybody wanted to get out of poverty. And so they said, let's buy Bitcoin because, the price is going up. We can make a lot of money. And then, as you know, people were shorting the market. People were using tactics. And then everybody got involved in buying Bitcoin, and it went up to 20,000. But the day after, price started dropping after it went to 20,000. So then people saw their value drop. And so they put all their money from the banks into Bitcoin. That's gone right down. How do you bring that confidence? Because they're going to say, if I buy Bitcoin again and it goes back up, what's going to happen if it goes back down? I'm going to lose more money. Who's controlling it? Who's doing this?
Sure. Well, Bruno, I'm going to let you go because we're having a network issue. But I'm going to go ahead and talk about what you want us to talk about. And how do you convince people to still have confidence in their investment? If you bought at 20K and now you're looking at 7K, it can be very difficult. I mean, part of it is to look at a longer scale. I've seen versions of the Bitcoin chart where they show you that we went up 552%, then we went down 50%. So yes, it's unfortunate that you're on the 50% side, not the 500% side. But the lesson of Bitcoin in the past, if you look at the old chart, is that it always comes back and it always comes back stronger. And if you bought into Bitcoin based on the technologies with a reasonable time horizon, if your goal was to be rich next week, if your goal was to be rich next month, it's obviously not going to happen. But if your goal was to have slightly more money next year, that still might happen. You can hold on for that. And additionally, I tell people that rather than selling 100% of your investment, that they should sell maybe 20% or 30%, and then wait a couple days and see how you feel. See if it recovers. See if you want to sell another 10%. Sell it in parts. Then that way, maybe you'll still have some there when it goes up. But once again, no one knows if it's going up or down. We're just trying to determine the value of this asset. And it's an interesting idea. And as for the pizza party stuff and all the other stuff, I'm not sure about that. And I don't think it's directly connected to the markets. We did see the market start to recover while we were talking to the caller. It went to a low of around 7,543, back up to 7,800.
Market start to recover while we're
got to turn down your radio. But hello, you're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Market start to recover while we're got to turn down your radio. But hello,
you
you're
also
live
hear
on the
me.
World Crypto Network. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You got to turn down your TV and listen to your.
You hear me?
Yep. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is TJ from Lakeland, Florida. How's it going?
It's going good. You have a idea about what we should talk about in Bitcoin, or a way to convince your friends?
Yeah, so way to convince friends, I always try to explain it to them as it's the first time that digital scarcity has ever existed.
Well, that's a tough one. Then you have to explain digital scarcity. What's that?
So digital scarcity, typically before Bitcoin was invented, there was no such thing as digital scarcity. Because like your MP3 or emails or whatever, you can make unlimited copies of them. And every copy is as good as the first. You know, one MP3, as long as it's the same quality of sound, is the same as any other MP3.
Well, that's what I thought when I heard about Bitcoin, that it was digital money. So I thought I was just going to make a copy of it and then make another copy, and then I'd be super crazy rich, right?
Right, but then Satoshi was able to figure out a way to stop the double spend. So the network knows if you try to copy your Bitcoin and send it to someone else after they send it to you. So that usually helps me get their attention. Well, yeah, digital scarcity. That kind of makes sense. And then, even though it's not the best definition of what Bitcoin is, but then I try to lead them into maybe the Bitcoin is similar to gold aspect. Okay, it's like a digital type of gold. And then that really at least gets their gears turning in their head, and they at least start to think about it. I mean, you're not going to convince them to get into it day one if they've never heard about it, but that at least, to me, helps their mind start to think about it.
I think that'd be a good opener. That's a good idea. Thanks so much for the call.
Yeah, no problem. I had one other thing.
All right, go ahead.
I'd like to bring up if you have a quick minute.
Sure, go ahead.
So not to start a huge debate that people have been talking about it enough, but the whole the Bitcoin Cash debate, that like the Twitter handle Bitcoin has obviously been acquired by people who support Bitcoin Cash.
Sure.
And they're constantly doing the whole narrative, oh well, Bitcoin Cash is Bitcoin, and because it supposedly aligns with the creator's true vision, that whole spiel. And it's like, okay, well, if say Puerto Rico ratified the Articles of Confederation, the original government of the United States, and then rename their country, the United States of America country, could they then say, oh, we're the real America? Oh, this is actually America?
I think they could. They would be the true original vision of America. But it would be obvious. It would be obvious that they're selling an inferior project, right? You'd look at Puerto Rico and you'd say, "Wow, it's a little island," and then you'd look at America and it's this big country with all this land and all these ships and stuff. You would feel ripped off, right? If you were told one was the one and one was the other, right?
Correct, because one has $1 trillion or however $1 trillion of budget annually, and then your country is not what it was led to have been.
And that's what I think's sad. Even if the B cashers are acting on good faith and they really believe that doubling the block size forever is a good solution, they're also on the side that's stealing the name. And I suppose they think that the name's already been stolen by the evil Blockstream conspiracy or whatever, so they think they're stealing it back, and they're the rebels and they're right and they should do what they want. But if you really look at it, and I thought I said this the other day, if you're going around murdering people and burning their villages, and you say, hey, maybe we're not the good guys, and maybe we're the bad guys. And if you're the one stealing the name and you get upset when people say, don't steal our name, and you get upset when people won't use the name that you want, maybe you're the bad guys, you know?
If you're having to force it so hard.
Absolutely. If you have to force it, if it just doesn't happen, maybe it's not right.
Right. Nothing backed by force can last forever.
There we go. Well, thank you so much for your call, and give us a call again soon.
Thank you. I've been listening for years. It's nice to have an organic pro-Bitcoin, but not fanatical.
There we go. We're open to it. So thank you for your call. Thank you. And it was a good idea to convince people to take Bitcoin and people to be interested in it by explaining them the digital scarcity. I think that's a good idea. And another part of that I would say is explain it to them in parts. Don't expect them to just hear about it one time and then go buy some, but tell them some 1 week, and a couple weeks later tell them another part of it, and a couple weeks later tell them another part of it. And as painful as it could be if the price doubles and triples in those weeks, at least they'd have a chance to think about it. And you have to remember, when you heard about Bitcoin the first time, you didn't get it right away either. I didn't get it right away. Nobody gets it the first time, but we all go back and read more and more about it and get more and more interested in the Bitcoin. So I think that's great. We had a couple more calls trying to explain it. People have more ideas on how to explain Bitcoin. Not sure how much longer we're going to go on here, but we are getting a lot more calls in this later time zone. So we might try this time zone again. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from? I've got video and everything. Can you hear me?
Thomas, how are you?
Hey, welcome aboard. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Malone here, ringing you from Ireland.
Ireland. All right. And do you have a way to convince your friends to buy Bitcoin?
Well, I've been working on it for a while. A lot of them talk about Ponzi's and so on, but I guess I'm a bit of a miner, so that's kind of my background. So I talk to them more about the technical side of things, and that's my interest in the Bitcoin play.
And when you tell them that you have these computers at your house that print out money, does that convince them more or less?
That gets their immediate attention. They say, how do I do it? And then I show them, and they're like, it's very loud. And they're like, your wife is very understanding. And I say, well, she is, because there's money walking in the door.
I had those loud machines in my house, and they didn't really make any money. They just made it hard for me to watch movies. I couldn't stand it.
Well, they're in my shed, let's say. We're at the countryside here. So
there you go.
Space. And it's cold this time of the year, so it works out well. In the summertime, we sometimes have some problems with mosquitoes.
Yeah, it'd be rough in the summertime. It's much better when it's cold outside. And I know a lot of people can heat their houses with miners these days. That's a good idea.
Yeah, so actually, that's why I was calling you. I was listening yesterday. I kind of listened to your show regularly. It's great to kind of get your insight on everything,
Thank you.
and the other guests you have. I picked up you were talking about, there was somebody yesterday asking about the empty blocks. And I know that, you know, there's a lot of controversy about that, and people giving out, well, why do they mine empty blocks? And I just want to give you a little bit of my insight on why that might happen.
Sure. Why do you think they're mining empty blocks?
Well, I think in a lot of cases it's a technical scenario. So what happens is when a block is found, people want to start mining the next block as soon as they can. So what they'll do is they'll get the header for the next block and start mining immediately. But what they need to do then is they need to figure out all the transactions that were in the previous block. They can't include them in the next. So it takes them a little bit of time to calculate exactly what should be in the next block. And in that intervening period, while they're mining essentially an empty block on the header, if they find it, that's why you get the empty block. And particularly if you've miners or pools that are distributed around the world. And quite often, if you look, I actually just had a quick look there on the Block Explorer, and we got one there recently, 508175, wasn't that long ago. It'd usually be when it's switching between pools, so it'd be very unusual in my experience to see an empty block by say via BTC or Antpool if they'd mined the previous block. Whereas if somebody else mined the previous block and then they get the next one, it's more likely. So that's my kind of theory on it, and I think there's a bit of technical reasoning behind it as well.
Sure. All right. So thanks so much for your call. It looks like we're getting some feedback from your headphones. When you move, the cords are making sounds. People are describing it as playing Irish Kaplunk or drinking a Coca-Cola. So,
but sorry about that.
But yeah, that might be a reason that it's when it switches pools that they're able to mine another empty block and keep going. I've heard different explanations from different people. It depends where you are on the scale, I think. So
I'm holding that mic now, so hopefully that noise has stopped.
There we go. It sounds good. And anything else?
A little one for you. I don't know if you ever watch Bitcoin Wednesday. It was streaming live this evening, but there was some pretty good content and rootstock and various other QDM and so on, or quantum, depending on how you describe it. But if you're looking for a bit of a laugh, if you go to 1 hour 30 in, the nice lady Suzanne from BitNation came on stage, and all the other presenters were very organized, and it was actually really good content, and she was pissed. It came on, so it's pretty funny. Just to watch.
Oh well, I've heard of Suzanne from back in the old days, and she's been working that BitNation idea for a long time. Oh, that would be funny. Is that Bitcoin Wednesday out of Amsterdam? Is that the?
Yeah, that's the one. This evening it was on. I'll send you a link on YouTube. You can take a look. It's pretty hilarious.
Yeah, it looks good. That sounds good. So we'll have to check out Bitcoin Wednesday and see Suzanne Templeton or something like that, whatever her name is, the BitNation lady. So very cool. Thank you so much for your call, and give us a call anytime.
Yeah, thanks. And keep up the good work, Thomas.
Thank you. And we'll see if we can get a couple more calls in here. We did have people. All right. So we're going to give Kelly a call back. It's hard to tell. Sometimes people use other Skype accounts. We'll see. Hello, you're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Oh, cool. My name's Kelly. I'm in Orlando.
Hello, Kelly. Welcome to the show. What's your thoughts about Bitcoin, or do you have a way to convince your friends to buy it?
The way I explain it, it's basically a world currency. You could literally go anywhere and buy anything with it. I mean, even Craigslist has a cryptocurrency OK checkbox on it now, if you want to buy anything on it. So it's really getting to be where it avoids the exchange rate, and it's it's a peer-to-peer, you know the whole spiel with that. But
so you sell the international idea that I could take some Bitcoin, go to another country, find a Bitcoin ATM or someone on local Bitcoin, something like that, and then do a trade.
Yeah. And even when I was at my dentist's office the other day, she was saying, I was talking to her about Bitcoin, and she's Chinese. So she was like, even them, being able to send money to people outside of the country So that helps them do that as well. And I, and I was listening to that. What is his name? What is it? Andros or?
Sure, Andreas
They
Antonopoulos.
call him Crypto Jesus. You know what I'm talking about?
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
there's a couple of them, I guess.
It can be tough. There's
Andrew
multiple.
Lopoulos. It's some kind of Greek name. You know what I'm talking about?
Sure, yeah, Andreas.
Yeah, Andreas. There you go. Sorry, I've had a couple screwdrivers. Sorry about that one, pretty. Yeah, even where there's and he's going over there to do some kind of contract work or what have you. They can pay him in Bitcoin, and he really doesn't have to worry about, anything as far as, like, I guess, work visas or what have you. And that's true, though. I mean, it's a global currency.
Well, and what's great too is when I've used Bitcoin overseas, and I say someone needs to send me like a 0.01 or something because I wrote them a blog post or something like that, and they just send the 0.01. It doesn't matter if they send it in euros or if they send it in dollars. They just send it in Bitcoin.
Right, and great. And I was just down in Costa Rica back in the end of November for Thanksgiving. Got a place down there, and when I rented a car, I was actually shocked when I returned my car because I was just kidding. I was like, "Oh, by the way, you take Bitcoin?" And he's like, "Ah, yes, we do." I'm like, "Oh, no kidding." Dollar rent a car in Costa Rica takes Bitcoin.
A lot. What's nice now is when I started, no one had heard of Bitcoin, or if they had heard of Bitcoin, they thought it was all drug money, and they'd look at you really sideways if you mentioned it. But what's nice now is people have heard of it, they've heard it's worth money, and I'll bet what they would do there is he would take the money out of his wallet and he would take the Bitcoin personally on his phone. A lot of people at businesses now, waiters and waitresses, have heard of it. And if they're really smart, they'll jump on that opportunity and buy your dinner and take your money in Bitcoin. So.
Yeah, of course, because it's going to go up. I mean, it's kind of inevitable if you look at the mathematics of the whole thing. But that's how I explain it, though. That's basically how I explain it, and I think it's cool. I think it's really a neat way, and I've been involved with it, actually owning Bitcoin since back in August. But
well, let me ask you why
I actually looked into Litecoin, which kills me. Like 3 years ago, it was crazy, and I actually got a free wallet, and they were giving away Litecoin at that point.
Sure.
And it's like, oh my god! I tried to find the free wallet; it's not there anymore. So, yeah, I know. I was like, damn, because I knew I had a few in there, but I'm like, oh, that would have been cool.
I had a surprising thing where I had some Ripple years ago, and I wrote down on a piece of paper the private key, and I searched through everything, and I found it. I found some crazy wallet, and I put it in. There's my 25 Ripple, worth not that much, but still
not so awesome right now. But yeah,
no, it would have been a little better earlier, but still, it's pretty amazing if you save those private keys. You can always try to get your money back if the coin's still there. But Kelly, let me ask you while you're here, how can we convince more women to get into Bitcoin? Because there's just not a lot of women in Bitcoin. So how can we convince them?
Well, I know it's kind of a sausage fest kind of situation, but I think eventually that'll happen.
You just have to wait. There's no.
I mean, the acceptance but you know what? I saw some statistic that said that only 1% of people involved in cryptocurrency even own a whole Bitcoin. So, and if you go down to that rationale, only 1% of women in the whole world's population even own property. So I think this would really be kind of a cool way for, girls to gain a little financial independence.
I think so too, especially like the previous caller was saying, all of your bank accounts can be frozen if you're in debt. That's the same thing if you're getting divorced or if you're getting married. And with this Bitcoin or with Litecoin or anything, girls could have a little savings on the side, either to leave or to never have to say yes if they don't want to. So.
Yeah, well, exactly. But I mean, I don't think it's cool necessarily to hide anything from your significant other, but I just think that women do need to think about their own financial stability. It's not all about the guy. You got your own deal. Say like if you get married later in life, everybody's got their own deal. If you sign something, whatever, you came in with it, you leave with it, whatever. But I think girls need to pay attention and try to, gain a little bit of financial stability.
I think
Just
so.
a
I think so.
healthier, happier world when you have money.
And it's still really early too. They've still got a lot of time before everybody else. Not everybody's into this yet.
Oh, I know. Trust me. I'm like telling people about it. I've got an elder friend of mine. She's like 74.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her back in early November to buy some Bitcoin. And she only bought like $250 worth, you know.
Sure.
But she didn't even know she bought it. She put it on Coinbase.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, I told you to go ahead and buy, but didn't you buy any Bitcoin? She's like, no, honey, I just put it in there. I go, oh, okay. And then she calls me up freaking out. She goes, oh my God, I just looked in there. My money's like doubled. I go, yeah, well, there you go. So she ended up taking like $295 out when it was more than doubled.
Sure.
Now it's just kind of whatever money, you know.
Exactly. Once you get your original investment out, you can just let the rest ride.
With whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it goes to 100 grand, then she'll have a nice little bit in there. But that's, you know, but you really have to be smart. This is what kills me about this whole crash thing and people losing money and the whole, you know, ICO and everything. It says on every single freaking one, do not put what you can't afford to lose into this, period. Amen. And that's the same with the stock market. That's the same with everything. Same with pump and dump. They do it on the stock market. Now they're doing, I mean, you just have to be smart about it. Do a little bit of research. I mean, and really research. Go online, go to Reddit, go to Steam it, go to everywhere, Twitter, everywhere. And if you're interested in a coin, you have to do a little freaking bit of research. Don't just be like, oh, look, it's going up. Oh, let me grab some. That's just stupid.
Oh yeah, the previous caller was a poker player, and I think one of the important maxims of poker is if you can't spot the weak person at the table, the weak person is you.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these people heard about all the money that everyone else was making, and they came chasing after it. And I'm not sure it worked out well for them this time.
Yeah, but I also think too, this whole market kind of goes on. It doesn't necessarily go on, you know, technical analysis or, you know, charts. And well, there's a lot of media involved with it. So you really have to, you know, do your due diligence and research everything, see what stories are out there, see what, you know, it takes a lot of time if you're going to be serious about it. That's for sure. And I've made some money flipping some stuff. And luckily with what I did, I didn't really lose anything with this last crash. So now I'm just kind of like, okay, I'll buy more, you know, but people don't, you know, a lot of people are scared of it right now, and it's understandable. But I think that whole Senate thing helped. I sent that, the Senate notes to a few people.
It has been really good, and it was great to see them react positively. I think a lot of people thought we'd get the opposite.
Right. And I was sitting there watching it while I was at work. That's kind of an understanding with me and my employers. I have to have my computer kind of doing its thing over there. And yeah, the Senate was the one senator was talking about his, you know, his college age kids and how they're really into it. And his niece, who's in her 30s, she's really into it. And he's really happy that they're finally getting interested in the financial sector.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and this is something they're really, really psyched about. And that's a cool thing. You know, it's a real cool thing. Got people thinking about finances, got people thinking about money, not just, you know, hanging out and, you know, and I know a lot of people that are involved in this are kind of, you know, they're all computer kind of, you know, techie people, and that's cool. But, you know, I think it kind of gives everybody a way to, it's a community for sure. You know, I think it gives that to a lot of people too, which is cool too, all on its own.
All right. Well, thank you for your call, and give us a call anytime.
It was good talking to you.
Thank you so much. And I think that the caller is really right that Bitcoin teaches you all about the financial markets. I watched a little bit of financial TV the other day, and they used all the same terms that Tone used, all the same terms that the traders use, and the bear and the bull, and if we have enough volume and these kinds of things. So it's interesting to see them go through the Dow Jones stock market crash the same way that we go through these Bitcoin corrections. And I think what the congressman's also excited about, sorry, Kelly, we'll give you a call right back. What the congressman's also excited about is that so many millennials and young people aren't interested in stocks or bank accounts at all. They don't trust them after the 2008 thing, and they just don't take an interest. So to have this, where they're actively taking an interest and, you know, being rewarded for it, which helps a lot. And I don't know if they'd like it as much if they're being punished for it. but they're actively taking an interest, and I think that really inspired the senators and led them to have a different belief on crypto than they might have had before. But I think we had one more call from Kelly. We'll see if we can get her back. Chat's a pretty cool place.
Funny.
Hey, Kelly, just another call. Go ahead.
And they're like, oh, 7-month expert. What the? Y'all need to be friendlier to people that are just getting involved. If you want more money in this environment, in this ecosystem, you have to, teach people. If they don't know, teach them.
I definitely agree with that, and the internet can be really critical. Sorry.
Huh?
The internet can be really critical of things sometimes, and people have to watch out because we want more people in
I get
this.
it. And it's like, I'm 46 years old, okay? And I know most of you guys are probably early 20s, mid 20s, early 30s. But I'm telling you, if you want people my age, the people that have money to put into this environment, you need to understand, this is my perspective. If I'm wrong, tell me. Is it all about the project? What's involved? Doesn't matter how much the coin or token costs or what it's worth. That's not true. It's not true. Because everybody's in it to make money. Very few people are in it just because. Don't tell me that you're going to go out and you're going to pay, $5-6 a coin, maybe more if you're Neo level or whatever, Bitcoin level, and you're going to be good with it slamming down to almost nothing, because that's not true.
Oh no, well, nobody's good with it. They believe it's going to come back. I think that if they have so much faith of it coming back,
but it's only going to come back if people put money into it, correct?
Sure.
Right? So they need to embrace the people that are excited about it, that might not understand it on a, how the whole blockchain thing, and coding and da-da-da-da-da. I don't understand that.
Sure, and I don't think you need to be interested in Bitcoin.
Where the future, where it's going, where things are going, and I respect that. That's just like, I can buy a computer. I don't need to know how it works.
Exactly,
But I
and that's
still use it.
I also think that's a big part of what we want to happen to Bitcoin, is that we need more people that don't care about cryptography or don't care about computers, because that's the second wave. In the startup thing, we have these early majority, and the early majority is always kind of geeky and they're really into your product. But then you have the wide majority in the second phase, and we don't need them to know all these things. We just need them to have the basic idea and to believe in it. And if they want to invest, they can choose to invest.
Yeah, but if no one invests, it's pretty much a game over. So, and I appreciate it. Like I said, I mean, I've been wanting, and I've done a couple stupid investing. Trust me.
Sure, we've all done it for sure.
Got up to 300 some odd bucks. I sold it all at 95, 75 coins at $95 a coin. Trust me. I feel stupid, but I've learned, and I've learned you have to really, really pay attention. It's it seems like it's just numbers, decimals, numbers, but it's way more than that.
Well, and a friend of mine said a long time ago that she was given some Bitcoin very early on, and she didn't really care about them or try to, figure it out. And they were stolen from her. And it was only when they were stolen that she realized that she had something of great value, that someone would go to so much work to steal her Bitcoins.
Right. And I really think people need to, I had a friend of mine today. I'm trying to, not necessarily, win him over, but I'm just trying to tell him, I'm like, while it's low, it's a good investment, and he's like, oh, well, I heard. And I think a lot of people correlate BitConnect with Bitcoin.
It can be hard. We've had a lot of other scams that seem to take down the name for a while. Bitcoin and OneCoin and all these kinds of things.
Yeah, but I think people that that are just that just really don't know, they've been Ponzi schemes. Yeah, BitConnect was. Yes, it was.
Sure.
But Bitcoin isn't. A Ponzi scheme is a scheme where you try to get other people to join. You know what I mean? Or you benefit from them buying in. Bitcoin is not like that at all. You don't really benefit from anybody buying in.
You do a little bit. I mean, it's tough because so many people get this Bitcoin religion where they go out and start selling it every day, and they don't have to. We don't require that you sell Bitcoin, but people just get excited. I think they get excited about the idea of really owning something.
But it's not a situation where it's like you tell two friends and I tell two friends and you tell two friends and so on and so on and so on.
No, it's not that. It very well could be, but it's so much bigger than that. Sorry, Kelly. We seem to be having a network issue. I couldn't hear you there.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. But yeah, but no, I totally get it. I don't know if some people are bitter because they've lost some money or what have you. I bought in when I got in, it was early November anyway. So I'm good. But I think a lot of people are, bitter about it, or I don't know. I think it should be more of a welcoming type situation,
It's tough because I'm from the
guys are they're just brutal. There's no reason for that. Why?
It's strange. I mean, a lot of people, when they get behind an alias or something that's not their real name, they think they can say anything they want. And there's also this kind of old internet idea that
when you're drinking, but you're behind a computer.
Yeah. Well, and it's also the idea originally is that the internet was the wild, wild west, and we all had our aliases, and we could all do dirty and nasty things. And I think a lot of that's been rolled back recently as people realize that there's always a consequence. If you do something mean to someone, it's always a mean thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I just, I'm the rules and regulations. Trust me. But I just want, if everyone just be nicer, be more welcoming to people that are come in, because if they don't know a lot about it, don't be so cheeky.
Definitely. Well, and you're valued here, and give us a call back soon, Kelly. We'd appreciate your opinion.
I appreciate it, hon. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. We got another call here. We're going back to back with the calls. Caller, you're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good.
This is Sean from California.
All right, Sean from California. What's your thoughts about Bitcoin, or do you have a way to convince your friends?
Well, what I'd like to say is, I just got into this about a month ago in Thanksgiving week of 2017. And at one point I was just putting in money. Then I saw it kept going up, kept putting in money. And at one point I was up about $10,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I started to tell people, right? I started to tell my brothers, friends, family, even people that I work with in other countries.
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, when that happened, I was telling everybody, but now, right, it took a tank, right? So now I'm not really, I'm kind of quiet. But, just to go back to your question, I mean, I guess what the other guy was saying, maybe if there would be a way where people could just put small amounts without paying high fees, right? Like, here's $20, here's $50, here's $100 in Bitcoin, and just hold it. Maybe that would, be a way to get your average person in it. And also, if there would be a way where more online merchants would accept Bitcoin for small purchases, then people would see utility. Your average person would see utility in it. You know what I mean?
Well, the merchant thing is tough, but as far as the buying small amounts, we're all critical of Coinbase and these kinds of things, but Coinbase does have a recurring buy. A recurring buy tool, and you can put $10 a week or $1 a day or whatever you're comfortable with, and they do charge a fee. The fee depends on how often you buy, so it might be better to get the weekly or the monthly buy. But this isn't exactly that easy to set up. It's not the first thing in the interface. It doesn't say, welcome to the website, buy $1 a day. Even though dollar cost averaging, as much as people don't understand, it really is the best way to buy into a new thing. You just get a little bit of it each week, and then the price goes up and down, and it averages in the middle.
Exactly. I had a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
I sold mine as it was coming down. I made a little money, but now you probably get this question all the time. But when do you think would be a good time to get back in? As I guess you would say, I don't know if I'm a mini whale, but I was buying one Bitcoin at a time. So when would you think is like you see confirmation that it's kind of on the upswing? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you're never really going to know until we're in the upswing. So part of the trading things, you have to look at, Tone and these other guys, and they're looking at the volume. They're looking at the lines crossing and these kind of things. Recently, it does seem with the Senate news that we did get some positive news that broke the negative trend. So it does look kind of good. I mean, I'm zooming back on the candles here to the 2-hour candle. It's still quite a down, but there is a little bit of up. So I would just say try to get back in on a small percentage. Get 10% in a day and wait for that point when you really feel confident. Just see how it goes. But you can never know. I can't really tell you. So
Yeah. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Like
thank
your
you
show.
so much for the call, and thanks for listening.
All right, you got it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cool. Bye. And we're coming up on 5 o'clock, which might be the end of this show. We've been on about 2.5 hours live. I've been taking it down with you. The price of Bitcoin is $7,738. It did rise to a recent high of 8,649. Previously, the recent low was 7,242. Looks like they've tacked a green candle on there in the 7,500 range. So we might be done with this little run, but who knows? So thanks so much for everybody who called. Thanks for joining us in the chat. You can also check out, there's stuff I've been reading on Steemit. I published all my recent book readings. I'm trying to get caught up. Check out the World Crypto Network on iTunes. You can subscribe. We got not just the shows here on YouTube, where you should subscribe as well, but also we've got Tone and Jimmy and Adam Meister and much, much more. One more call. All right, we're going to do one more call. All right, caller, you're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello.
Hello, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Jonathan Jackson from Florida. What's it called? Hey, you can check me out on GitHub, man. John DevOps.
All right, John Devos. What's on your mind about Bitcoin, or do you have a way to convince your friends?
Hey, man, first of all, let me say thank you, and I appreciate the service that you're doing for the community, man. We really appreciate it out here with your good advice and whatnot. You know what I'm saying?
Thanks so much.
We need more people like you, man. I'm telling you, and we need more people like you teaching other people, like and talking to us how you do, man. Because a lot of people out there, man, they real shady, man.
It's pretty tough. I know a lot of people that get a bag full of their favorite altcoin, and then suddenly they tell you all about how great their altcoin is. So it can be tough.
It's hilarious, man. I saw somebody telling me, I was telling them about Bitcoin. They was telling me about they got XRP. I never even knew what XRP was, man. I heard it was like Ripple. I was like, oh, okay. and then I heard you talking about the whole how it was on I don't know if it was NBC, CNBC, MSNBC, one of them.
Oh yeah, CNBC told you how to buy it right there on the air.
That's crazy, man.
Quite something.
I got into it after I heard you talking about it. But what's it called? So what do you think about, like, I call, because what do you think about like the development of Bitcoin and stuff like that? That's the developers and stuff like that. How would I get into more of that side? Because
Sure.
I kind of like the computer programming and all that.
Well, I definitely say you can check out the code on GitHub, and that might not be the easiest place to start, but from then I would look at Andreas Antonopoulos' book, Mastering Bitcoin. It's an O'Reilly book, so it's at a higher technical level, and that's really going to get you into the nuts and bolts. And beyond that, I would start to look at Jimmy Song's blockchain programming seminars. Maybe you don't even need to attend the seminar. You're not ready for that yet, but he has a prerequisites list. So what I would do is I would go down the prerequisites and I would try to learn and understand all the concepts he's talking about. And then by the time you're ready for his programming seminar, you'll already have all these ideas under your belt.
Jimmy Young?
Jimmy Song.
Jimmy
Song. Yeah, Jimmy Song's blockchain programming, and then Andreas Antonopoulos' book.
Yeah, Andreas, man, he's been doing a big service. I just got in recently, man. Like last time when it was 7,500, that's when I first saw it, and then I bought some when it was at 12, and then I bought some Litecoin, and it went like my 600 went up to like 900. And
Nice, man.
Well, right now I'm I ain't gonna lie, I'm just looking at it right now. I'm just watching it. Really, I'm not really doing too much with it. I'm just learning.
Well, it's an exciting space and it's going off all over the place. So definitely check it out, learn as much as you can, and try to get involved.
Hey man, and for all the web developers out there, people that want to get into programming and learn programming, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, freecodecamp.org. Check it out. And for resources, Mozilla, check out developer.mozilla.org.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for the call, and give us a call again soon.
Hey, y'all have a good one. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And that's great that people can learn how to develop online. I think one of the great things to learn about YouTube and the internet is that you can learn anything. I don't know how to change the oil on my car, but I'll bet I could watch a great YouTube video about it, get it from all the different angles, and then I'll bet I could change my oil. But I still don't want to. So you got to get through that. But we're running out of time. I'm only one person. I will try to start the show in a later hour. This seems to work better for calls, but it does. It messes up my schedule because I want to watch PTI, and pardon the interruption. So I'm going to go check out all the sporting news. Maybe we'll come back for a later show, or we'll try another late show tomorrow. And then, yes, I'll teach you about history. You should watch my Mad Bitcoin's history of money videos. I did a couple great history of money videos where I talk about the Federal Reserve and stuff. They're pretty cool. But thanks so much for watching. I'm legitimately tired of talking. Until next time, bye-bye.